goodness. Big move Monday. Look out. A way to end the tournament.
Gentlemen, we are back again. Episode 4 of the Quad Pod, sponsored by Poseidon Strength and sponsored by Adidas Wrestling. Kevin's got his Adidas behind him. I got mine behind me. Make sure you use discount code QP25 on Adidas Wrestling, as well as discount code QuadPod on Poseidon Strength, and get all the really cool shit that you need from both. Make your feet fast with Adidas and make your ass real strong with Poseidon Strength. That's just how that shit works. But gentlemen, it's good to be back. We have a lot to get into, so I'm not even going to go through all the fun shit we normally get into in the beginning because we have so much to get to today. So let's get straight to the weigh-in. And Austin, I'm kicking it over to you.
I'll start it off with a Father's Day shout out. We got Father's Day coming up at the end of this weekend here, a few days. Go be good dad, go say hi to your dads. A lot of us in the wrestling community we know of fathers and how crazy they can be. Don't be one of those fathers, always be a good father for your kid. Look out for them, but push them to a limit, but I don't want to spend too much time because we want to get into topics, but yeah, quick Father's Day shout out. Get your dad something nice, take him out to eat, take him out for a beer, check in on him, make sure he's doing good. Always good, because once you lose a dad, you never get him back. So cherish those moments. And sorry we're starting off sad, but
not too sad.
It's a big holiday for a lot of people. So cherish it and spend time with your dads.
Yeah, Austin, go have a beer with your kids.
Definitely will.
I think they're old enough. Your one son, it seems to be drunk all the time. He falls asleep anywhere.
Yeah. We're working on
sleep?
that.
That's weird. My kids don't sleep.
He tries not to, and he falls asleep on the floor in like random positions,
amazing.
and it's crazy. Yeah.
Everyone needs to follow Austin on Instagram. Maybe not for the wrestling takes, but for the fact that his videos of his son falling asleep upside down on the floor on a chair, nowhere near his bed. It's the funniest shit ever.
And his bed is so comfortable. I've passed out in there with him, and it's like, I want this for my bed, and the kid hates it. But
it's the funniest thing. Robbie, go ahead, take it away.
Let's continue that Father's Day notion on a slightly maybe more somber note. Those of us who didn't grow up with a great father figure, had wrestling coaches and coaches who stepped into our lives in that role, give them a shout out too. Probably one of the more rewarding things I've ever had happen as a coach is being able to kind of fill that role for some of the kids who wrestled for me, and it's a lot more meaningful than you'll ever realize in the moment. I look back on the coaches that I had and how impactful they were in teaching me lessons, and it means a lot, whether you're actual father or not. But there's a lot of people out there to be grateful for.
Absolutely right. Well said. There's a ton of people in my life and I'm sure in your guys' lives as well, that we've crossed paths with. Obviously, Austin and I have kind of run the same streets and been on the same mats and had the chance to be around some of the same coaches being back in the Lehigh Valley. And there's a lot of really great coaches back there in the Lehigh Valley that had a huge impact on us. But for me, I'm gonna continue to kind of keep it a little bit outside of wrestling. So on the day we were recording this, today is June 9th. And the reason I'm wearing this sweatshirt is a sweatshirt that I created and we sold for my uncle's foundation. This is the 47 years since my uncle won the title. So on June 9th, 1978, he beat Ken Norton. Obviously, it's 10 years before I was born. But it is a huge date for my family as he became the champ. 15 rounds, the 15th round, absolute craziness. So if you have a chance, go look up that fight. It's awesome. It's a fight that I've literally sat and watched with him. I've watched a lot of fights with him, Tyson fight included when he gets knocked out. But that June 9th fight, pretty historic, right? And it's I honestly used to watch it before wrestling matches, and there's nothing like having kind of your own inspiration in your family. But yeah, I mean the photo behind me is in literally every single video that I put out. It's him fighting Muhammad Ali, and it's actually signed by my uncle. And I make sure that, the family legacy is always behind me. So that is my way in to kick things off. As I said, this sweatshirt meant a lot. It meant a lot to create it for his foundation. I think we have like 10 left or something like that. In the process of getting a special one made for Jerry Cooney, a guy that my uncle fought. He put in a request to get a double X, as he's a very big guy. So in the process of printing a couple more, but yeah, if you guys want one, hit me up. We'll make sure to get them to you. But yeah, June 9th, 1978, very big date in my family, 47 years to the day that my uncle won the title. Yeah. Kevin, over to you.
Cool.
Last weigh in.
I guess I might as well stick with the dad thing. I'm already wearing this stuff. So my dad went to Washington and Lee back in the day.
Shout out
so I wanted to
Lexington.
wear this. There we go. And then he's from Chattanooga, Tennessee. So I'm wearing my Chattanooga wrestling hat. I'm going to say this in this tone of voice because it seems a lot more fun. He died a couple years ago. And so, Austin, you are right. It's, when you lose them, they're gone. And, but he was awesome. He ended up going to graduate school at Princeton. So that's how I, have such an affinity for that school. And then my buddy ended up going there. And, but no, it's just, he was hilarious. He was a riot. One of my favorite things he used to do. He wrestled. I guess that's kind of an important thing to say too. That's kind of the whole reason I got involved in this to begin with, and
Of course.
stuck for the first 3, 4, 5 years that I was doing it.
35 years for me.
Yeah, I hear you, and counting. But no, I mean, like, he did this thing. This isn't wrestling related at all, but he'd be in an elevator and like picture like a 76, 77-year-old man, disheveled looking, like in an elevator with you. And he just turns to everybody and goes, "I bet you're all wondering why I brought you here today." And it's like, they can't get off the elevator. It's moving. And it's just weird for a strange old man to say that to a group of people. He used to do shit like that all the time. So yeah, he was great. Shout out Nathan Claunch. That's my shout out today.
Awesome. It's pretty cool. He went to Washington and Lee. I actually played against Washington and Lee in the playoffs in college. So it's pretty cool. I was wondering where the Washington and Lee shirt came from. I was like, I know that logo. But that's a good way to start off the show. I really like that. And a little tidbit. So you're wearing a UTC hat. I got a little bit of UTC news that, and I'm not going to put the name out there, but there is a wrestler who was in the transfer portal earlier in the offseason who did make a verbal commitment that will be at UTC. He never ended up making it to the school he committed to. And this is a
AJ Ferrari,
pretty damn big name. No, we are going to get there, but that's why that was going to be my segue into Ferrari.
Got it.
As we have had multiple guys that have hit the transfer portal and have, gone to different places and everything else. And like Ferrari, this person made a verbal commitment at least, and is not going to be headed to that school being Ohio State. He's going to be headed off to UTC. So be on the lookout for that. That'll happen at some point. But yeah, no guesses. I'm not putting it out there just yet, but that is a tidbit of news that is going to be coming. But let's kind of circle the wagons and move over to Ferrari. Ferrari now going to be headed off to Nebraska. It was obviously a big to-do that he was going to UNC. They denied him, in which he said during his interview that they parted ways, where I think we all know kind of what happened there is they decided no. But he's going to be headed off to...
Mutual decision.
It was, very mutual decision. But he's going to be headed off to Nebraska. And from the intel that I got, Nebraska was his first call, I believe, when everything went down with UNC. I believe Rutgers was the second, and he had, I guess, a number in mind when it came to NIL. And for anyone that listened to Bosch and Brain this morning, Willie, laid it out like, even though he is going to Nebraska and maybe he did have a number in mind, they are making sure that their guys are the ones that are taken care of more so on the NIL front more than AJ, right? Because there's been so many times, yeah, and that's how it should be, right? Like there's been so many times, I think like the Iowa stuff that happened last year where everybody was talking about Parco and Teamer, and they're like, wait a second, Ayala was literally just in the finals for you guys last year, kept your streak going. What about him, right? So it was nice to hear Willie say that. That wasn't something that I knew about, but it's nice to hear that Manning and Snyder are taking care of the guys that are there and that won titles for them and have been in that room grinding. But Ferrari is headed off to Nebraska, and I'm gonna go to Robbie because I want to get your take on Ferrari's move to Nebraska. What were your initial thoughts when the news broke? And I think it didn't really like we knew. Let's put it out there. We knew before he had his interview, right? There's not really kept secrets much in wrestling, right? So we knew about it. But what were your thoughts when you heard that that's where he was going to be going?
Well, my first thought, I've spent a lot of time in Lincoln, Nebraska. Not a lot of good tanning options. So I'm a little concerned what he's going to do there. And also finger placement and symbols. Not quite sure what the split double symbols are going to be. If you can figure out a way to like make Herbie with his hands.
Yeah,
it's going to be a corn.
The corn options are bad.
I don't know. There's a lot of options here, and it's
he's going to have to get creative.
It's going to be corn either way.
It will be corny, no doubt. No doubt on that. I don't know. I mean, Nebraska was one of his original schools that he looked at in his initial college search, and what seems like 15 years ago now. So they were one of his finalists before he committed to Oklahoma State. He kind of fits in the lineup. There's going to be some juggling with current guys with red shirts, with guys coming in next year. So there's going to be a little bit of lineup juggling to make it, most effective. And with the year they had this year and what we've seen from them, I'm curious to see how he's going to fit in with the team culture there. Because anywhere AJ goes, he's going to be boisterous. He's going to be the center of attention. So I'm very interested to see how that fits in at a, generally speaking, a more laid back and quieter atmosphere.
Yeah. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I kind of second Robbie with the culture there. I think it might be a little bit of a culture shock for that team. And seems like he's coming around though to that. He's not as loud maybe sometimes. He's kind of a little
definitely
more...
seems to be maturing, so that's good.
Sure. Yeah I think
the
he's
mullet
mature.
and mustache say mature. That's what I
maybe not the looks, but
that's the last little bit of party he's got left is a mullet and a mustache.
Yeah,
guy with a mullet and a mustache is he's got a little party in him.
Yeah I mean, and the news of him going heavyweight, I mean, his deadlift is bound to go up now. Maybe we'll see.
Is it though? Is it?
I mean, you would think he's going to pack on some muscle, you would hope, right? So it's only going to go up from there. But I think we all kind of know Nebraska does need a heavyweight for this year. And after that, we'll see what happens. It's rumored to go down to 97. But if he puts on a ton of muscle and gets up to 240, 235, it's going to be a big cut for him to make 97 again. And
he was a big 97 last year.
He was huge. Yeah. So I don't know how many years he has left there. Maybe heavyweight's going to be permanent and there'll be a way to get someone else in there. But I hope it's a good fit for him. I really do. I think he's earned this second chance for the most part. And, as long as he stays clean, stays out of trouble and, doesn't really rock that culture too much, I think he'll do some good things for Nebraska. And, I think they'll be in that running for team runner up again this year at NCAAs.
Yeah. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I don't. This is a good place for him to go. Like, I think the culture there seems like it's been pretty strong for a long time, and they've got a core group of guys returning that all seem to be, rather faith-based in one way, shape, or form. And, I'm neither here nor there with that. I'm just saying, like, traditionally, if somebody has some struggles, that seems to be a good place for them to lean into to find some support. And he seems, in interviews, he's said that as much, right? So it's probably a good fit. It's probably a better fit than North Carolina as far as like having the support system and consistency and everything there. So, in general, I'm excited. I'm also pretty excited to see like what heavyweight AJ Ferrari can do. I mean, we've had such awesome heavyweights over the last several years, and what a finish that we had at heavyweight this last year, and the guys that are going to be coming back this year, and some of the young guys, like he can be right in the mix day one. So for a title, I mean, yeah, it's going to be super fun.
And that's the other thing I want to see too is this Big Ten schedule. Last year it wasn't no secret. Last year we mentioned, he didn't wrestle CKLV. He was banged up a little bit, missed some really big matches until the postseason. So I mean, can't do that forever in the Big Ten. That's going to come and bite you, right? So having him wrestle Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, those guys, I think he's gonna have to hit that during the regular season.
Yeah, it's the heavyweight weight class kind of clears out, I guess, a little bit. Hendrickson,
except for my boy Isaac.
That's what I'm saying. Hendrickson, Gable, Colton Schultz, the guys that we have been talking about at heavyweight for multiple years, right? Like
Schultz doesn't have any more eligibility.
Neither does Gable.
Is eligibility really a thing?
They're both done. They got none. But like that's what I'm saying is like we've, even though Gable took a couple of years off, he's always been in, top guy anytime he comes around, right? So the heavyweight weight class, it's not going to be as competitive as it was in the past couple of years. Trumbull, certainly front runner. He's the highest returning All-American at fourth, right? All the other three guys, all seniors, all gone.
And didn't he do that injured, Robbie?
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
He's coming off knee surgery now.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, but not surprised, right? I feel like it was one of those things where I was like, really, Nebraska? Does he fit? Knowing with, they have a guy at 97 who was an All-American, and then Ziola coming in, he's skinny, but he's got the frame. He's got kind of the Trumbull frame where he's long, lanky. I mean, he's even probably taller than Trumbull too. Like he is a heavyweight, like through and through. I mean, he probably could have been like a 97, but I think,
those boys get big too.
Yeah. And I think that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that the plan was for him to come in and be a heavyweight. So who knows what will ultimately happen. And AJ talked about it during his announcement, his second announcement, with Piles, where he says that, McDaniel has a red shirt and then Ziola obviously coming in and can red shirt or gray shirt or whatever, right? He's got some wiggle room in there for the incoming class. That's where they can kind of wiggle around some things. But like, that's a timeline that you're now messing with where you didn't think that you were the initial conversations that you had with Coach Manning and Snyder in Nebraska in general, that you thought you were going to come in and be, get that freshman experience and then maybe redshirt your sophomore year. Now that clock probably changes a little bit for AJ to come in and be a heavyweight. I think AJ should be a heavyweight. I don't think that he should be a 97 anymore. He's a little bit big for that at this point. He was big for 97 last year. And I think if what he said is facts, he's 230 right now. That's tough to get down to 197 from 230, no matter if you start now or at any point. That's hard to do. So I was kind of like, okay, like how does he fit? Right? Like, is this something that works? And then the second thought was Manning going after him shows that, they're hungry for more success. And who knows, maybe that does spell that Manning is on the back end of his coaching career where he's like, I'm going for broke for these last however many years. I'm going to be in the driver's seat here, and I'm going to get the guys that I want. And I've got a really good team right now that can continue to do some damage. So let's bring in a guy that we can put in at heavyweight and continue this, what we had last year. So who knows, right? Brian Snyder, obviously somebody that, I'm, relatively close with, being from Easton and knowing him for the majority of my life. I thought that at some point he would be a head coach, if not Nebraska, then somewhere. But I for sure thought that he would be maybe in that head coaching seat at Nebraska at this point. But Manning continues to bring the energy with, the quick challenges. And now you got him and AJ together, and who the hell knows what kind of energy we're going to get. So it's
That's
interesting.
frightening.
It is, but it is certainly interesting, this dynamic. And I think the other part of this that I want to hear your guys' takes on, and Austin, I'm going to come to you, is the dual meet aspect of it. Before we came on, we were talking about how they're, and you even alluded to how they're wrestling a Big Ten schedule, but they're also going to be wrestling Oklahoma State. They're also going to be wrestling, the Iowas, the Penn States, all these other top programs,
National duels.
and yeah, as well as national duels. How do you see this playing out for AJ, where we literally, you literally just said he missed the best competition last year and didn't really hit the top level competition when he was at Oklahoma State until later on in the season as well. So like, how's he going to handle the grind of a Big Ten season? I'm not saying that he can't, but it could be a bit of an adjustment. What do you think of the schedule and how AJ handles a Big Ten schedule now?
Well, it's going to be so new in a few aspects. One, Big Ten wrestling is no joke, obviously, right? That's completely different to what he's used to, and being up a weight class at heavyweight, not having to worry about that weight cut, not having to worry about conserving energy. Maybe we'll see an AJ Ferrari that wants to go out and score leg takedowns and, attacks and things like that. So, it might be a different style of wrestling we see from him just because he isn't, maybe worn down from that weight cut or really conserving energy. Maybe we'll see, a little more offensive AJ because he has the energy and the stamina, and, maybe he's a bit undersized and that'll make him hungrier. I don't know, but I don't know what to think of it. Like you said, we haven't really seen a full season from him in quite a while, with wrestling a lot of these high level guys during the season. So I think it'll be good for him, and I think he's going to need it, to prove that he can do it for himself and for the team. And when it comes to NCAAs, he'll have that feeling of being in a tight match and really needing to suck it up and get one last minute or something like that. And I think that'll be good for him.
So 2 points on that. I'd love to see a more offensive AJ Ferrari. We've seen offensive AJ Ferrari a lot, but offensive AJ Ferrari has definitely been lacking. Looking at his wrestle stat, he wrestled almost the exact same amount of matches last year as he did in the COVID shortened NCAA championship year. His freshman season, he was 19-1. Last season, he was 21-1. So, and then he had 10 matches in the year, the injury shortened year at Oklahoma State. So he's 50-2 in his career with 20 matches his freshman year and 22 matches last year. So it's interesting to see that's really low match count. So we're talking about a much more rigorous schedule.
Is it though? Considering, put that in perspective of where everyone else is. And, when you have a guy that wrestles 30 plus matches, you're like, wow, he was really getting it in this season, because we don't see that anymore. It goes to the argument of everybody was talking about and has been talking about Bo Bassett coming in and being, the next Kale. Can he be the next Kale and go 159-0? No, nobody wrestles that much anymore. So is it or is he kind of on par with the rest of the
I guess looking at, I just clicked on his last match against Cardenas. Cardenas had 27 matches last year, 35 the year before, 26, 31. So I guess it's not that far off. I guess it feels like he had much bigger chunks missing, and his matches seem to come in like small stretches. So I'm really interested to see just how a full year, if we can get a full healthy year out of him. He was dinged up last year. Cool. Understandable. That's why the reason given why he missed some big competitions.
He said he got surgery already this offseason too. Like small
Yes,
surgery.
that's
Yeah,
that's what
meniscus,
I
right?
heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, what I heard as well. But Big Ten schedule is a different ball game. So, and Nebraska's going to need him if they want to win those dual matches too.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have put in a full season, and we'll see what that looks like.
And I think him being at Bakersfield, obviously, no offense to Cal State Bakersfield, they're just not in the limelight like a Nebraska is. So maybe you just didn't hear a lot of him. And, obviously him missing CKLV, it's, he had a dual hero duel there. Okay, yeah, and it kind of adds up, right? But yeah, I agree with Robbie's point. We haven't seen the quality matches he's had during the year, I guess, too.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that was intentional. I mean, last year, avoiding some things, whether it was injury related or not, I think that in his return, wherever he was, like, he wanted it to go well. And I think, looking back, it went pretty well. If you're saying he didn't get in trouble and he placed third in a really difficult weight, like that's good.
Yeah.
Like, he's defending national champ. I get it. Or not defending, excuse me, but he was a national champ as a true freshman, and, which is a rarity in and of itself. But to come back after that much time off at a tough weight, place third at the tournament that matters the most, very impressive. Big Ten heavyweight schedule is different. And now that I'm already retracting my comments earlier about he's like a title contender right away. I don't think so now. I think that it's going to be a different level of physicality that maybe, like, we talked about how big he is at 197. He can kind of like keep people away. He does that all the time. You see him kind of stick that arm out and try to get people to like dive in on his leg. I just don't know that that's going to work at heavyweight with guys who are used to getting a little bit physical, a little bit more. I don't know. I like, not to mention the fact that you've got Tegadiali, Feldman, Keeter, Mirasola, like, off the top of my head, like, those are really tough dudes to kind of do that with. So
yeah, and he likes to wrestle from a knee too. So like it's not something that, I mean, it's obviously not something you see a lot of heavyweights do for one thing, but now he also has Tervel Delagnev that he's going to be able to work with.
Mm-hmm.
How do they change his offense? How do they get his leg attacks back? Because I think something that got kind of exposed last year was that he didn't have a high level leg attack when he needed one.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't able to score in any of the matches from a high level standpoint, right? I mean, when he wrestled, who was it? Little in the Pac-12 finals, he got in on a leg and couldn't finish, right? Like, we had seen him do that before too, right? There were one other match, I believe, during the year where he got in on a leg and he couldn't finish. And there were a number of matches later on in the season where he was unable to finish his takedown. So, and he said it, he said that he wants to get his double back. He wants to get, better offensively. And Tervel is definitely going to be a guy that can make that happen, as well as Brian Snyder. Brian might not work with heavyweights as much, but they're offensive guys. They really do pick their spots too. I mean, if you watch Antrell Taylor wasn't a guy that was firing off a number of shots, but when he was offensive, he was normally getting, putting points on the board. So I think that is definitely a wrinkle that is going to help him. But, I do think that, same thing that Austin said, no shot at Cal State Bakersfield, but they weren't able to get him offensively where he needed to be in order to win those matches and get the takedown that was necessary. And like I said, it showed against Little, and it showed again at NCAAs where he was able to get to a leg but wasn't able to finish.
Yeah, he won a lot of those matches with a riding time point as well. Is that going to be able to translate up a weight class, not being super big for the weight? We'll see. But if he can expand on that and be able to be able to ride and get that point, that'll go a long way as well at heavyweight too, because his defense is great, obviously. So a lot of things working for him. Just got to tweak it and adjust a few things here and there. I think he'll be okay.
How
Yeah.
fast is his twitch? I guess we're about to find out.
Fast enough to have a Mister tied to it. So
Mhm.
Yeah, not doctor yet, just a
not
Mr.
doctor yet, just Mister.
He has been in school long enough, though.
Yeah. So we'll see. But
It's an issue with transferring credits, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I will say this though, like he does seem to have grown up, even from like his UNC announcement to his Nebraska announcement. Even from there to there, different demeanor, different guy, right? Like still, still a character, still flexing on camera and stuff like that, but like he does seem to be more mature, and that's a very big deal. That is a very big deal, and I give him credit for that, right? Like it takes a little bit to have some humility and realize that you got it wrong, and that you made some mistakes. And as we said, he, I think Robbie, you said it, like he dug himself a hole with the trouble that he put himself in, and it's not going to be easy. And he's getting another chance, and this time probably Oklahoma State is obviously big limelight, but he's getting a second chance to be in that big time limelight again. And I think that the maturity that he's showing in and of itself is a great step forward. And UNC, it didn't work out. Hopefully it works out at Nebraska. There's not much to do in Omaha, so hopefully
Even less than Lincoln.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like yeah, even less than Lincoln. Yeah. I hope he doesn't get bored. That is like, I think the one thing that was probably the most trouble for him is getting bored. And when he gets bored, and he's not lifting or training or whatever else, things don't work out as well. So hopefully he can stay entertained and continue to do the good things that we saw him do over the last year. So yeah, I'm like I said, happy for him. I hope that he can stay clean the entire year and stay out of trouble, because when he's good, I want to just be able to talk about wrestling when talking about AJ Ferrari and not talk about the rest of the nonsense. And I will make this decree right now that if he stays out of trouble, I will not bring up his past ever again if he stays out of trouble throughout this entire year. It's not warranted anymore, and we can move forward and move past it and just focus on the wrestling. He's got 1 year under his belt, and I think if he maintains that throughout this year at Nebraska, it'll be nothing but wrestling talk when it comes to AJ and how he is working his way up the contender ladder at heavyweight and how he looks on the mat and how his offense has been. So yeah. On to the next one, the Army job. And we talked about this last week, and we talked about the finalists, and now we have the official announcement that it is Troy Nickerson, and Troy going to be, headed, I guess, closer to home. I guess his hometown is like 2 hours away. But he's going to be at Army, and I'm gonna go to Austin again on this, mostly because you cover the team, and you spoke about the impact that Kevin Ward made on the team. What do you think is the outlook for Nickerson coming in to this Army squad that has been trending upward?
I mean, I think it's a great hire. I will say though, there was some kind of Zoom meeting today to introduce him, and I'm not sure if he didn't show or the link didn't work, but something happened. So not the best start for Coach Nickerson there, but
It's government work. It's fine.
yeah, it must have been technical difficulty, but yeah, they're rescheduling that, so I'm gonna try and hop on that and get some quotes and stuff for him. Try and link up with him next week or so as soon as he gets settled, maybe for an interview for you guys. But yeah, I think it's a good hire for him coming back to home. Definitely knows his New York roots, but he's proved that he can recruit elsewhere, because you don't want a guy that can just recruit New York for an Army West Point job, right? That poll is nationwide. Looking at the roster, I think it's like 25 different states, something crazy like that. But yeah, I think he's a good man for the job here. He's proven that he can win at this level. He can coach at this level, kind of pretty much bringing Northern Colorado back to life, essentially, right? had a bunch of All-Americans there, a bunch of qualifiers, an NCAA champ in Alirez, a Hodge finalist in Alirez. So yeah, I think it's a good fit. I'm curious to see who he brings on staff, though. You know, if I'm him, I'm going to try and keep Scott Green there as much as I can, you know, just from the recruiting trail and just knowing the ins and outs of Army West Point and things like that. So we'll see what happens there. I have no intel on any of that, just speaking my mind here, but be interesting to see and how it works out. I think it's a home run hire for them.
100%. I mean, like, so with Blood Round, we did a program that we followed every year. And I already talked, you know, I think a couple episodes ago about how we followed Army. A couple years before that, we had followed Northern Colorado. And this was before they even brought Alirez in. I mean, he was like, he had committed there, but like he wasn't there. And embarrassingly enough, when I like, usually I go through like an outline of what I'm going to go over with people. And I don't remember why we didn't do that on this one, but like the information that I had from the website, from the Northern Colorado website, like it was the wrong roster. It was the wrong information. So I like asked him questions about dudes who like weren't even on the team anymore. Like it was one of the worst interviewing jobs I've ever done in my life.
Amateur.
Dude, I was so embarrassed and I felt like such an asshole. And I was like, Jesus Christ. And then but like, that's my point. Like that's how not like I picked them to follow them because I trusted Troy Nickerson and I trusted Moreno, who was there at the time, as like good coaches to develop a program and like watch this team because these coaches have their shit together and this is going to turn into something good. And here we are a couple of years later, right? So, you know, my point is that like, yeah, he's done awesome things with a program that when you Googled their roster, the right one didn't even show up. So like, he helped a ton, and getting All-Americans and a national champ out of that is special. So, and I just remembered, I think it was last week, I referenced two wrestlers who went to Minnesota, and I couldn't think of their names at the time, but it was Vance Von Bauer and Salazar, both from Greeley, Colorado, who left Greeley and went to Minnesota. So,
yeah. Robbie, your thoughts?
I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted on this one, if we're being honest. And let me preface that by saying
I'm being honest.
I wasn't sure about the Kerry Colat hire at Navy, just because the service academies are such a different monster with the way everything works, with recruiting, with all the other obligations that the student athletes have, the type of person that you have to get into those schools. It's a different environment and a much more challenging in a lot of different ways. So to go from what he had in Greeley, which was kind of in shambles when he got there, and he built it. I mean, let's be honest. But we've heard questions about, some eligibility issues, some behavior issues with, was it Baylor Fernandez, right?
I think so, yeah.
That was hurting. That was trying to break everybody's arms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the kind of thing that makes me question, how he's going to fit into a much more rigid environment, where he's not going to have that flexibility and he's not going to have that leeway that he had at a program that didn't have the same type of expectations and the same type of structure. So, Troy's a great coach and he's shown that he can get the highest results out of his athletes. I'm very interested to see what it's going to look like in the setting that they have in West Point. Kevin built a phenomenal program, and
thank you.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Wrong, Kevin.
And I don't want to see that, pulled down because, expectations are different now.
See, that's where I think though that this is a good thing, right? So like, I think that what Troy was able to do, I keep calling him Troy as if like we're best friends. What Coach Nickerson was able to do, I interviewed him once and I screwed it up. He probably hates me. So
that's why we're sending Austin this time.
Yeah, exactly. Tell him I said hi.
I feel like that that website's probably a little bit more updated.
A little bit.
Maybe. But no, I think that the having a little bit more structure around it, having like, because when you're pulling kids in to wrestle, to come to Greeley to wrestle for a program that, face it, at that point, like, didn't have a ton of success, right? And eventually when they got even Alirez, it was like a guy who lived there. You know what I mean? Like, so, it's different than convincing somebody to go there. I think this is going to provide a lot of structure. It's going to provide a lot of different type of recruiting, which I think he's kind of excited for. It's going to have different issues, sure, but I think some of those issues are going to be really well received and embraced by him in this, but the rest of it's coaching wrestling, right? The rest of it is coaching wrestling, and we're certain he can do that at a very high level.
Okay, definitely shown that.
Yeah, I actually agree with Kevin on this. Like, I don't think that having one hothead on his team makes a difference, right? Like, the kid continued to attempt to hurt different wrestlers and things like that. I think that the structure at Navy would be great for him, right? As somebody who, I mean, let's face it, you don't win as many titles as he did in high school and then go on to be as decorated as a wrestler and a coach if you don't have that structure in place for you. So I feel like he will make a pretty good transition. I think, as Colot said in his interview with Austin, and I'm paraphrasing, you're not just recruiting one type of guy, right? You kind of, as much as everyone thinks that you have to go and recruit certain types of people at the service academies, like, you can kind of have your pick of the litter because you just got to go talk to guys, right? Like, that's the thing, is like, it is very different. It is a very different pitch, and you don't have to worry about NIL, and you don't have to worry about, you are literally offering them a lifestyle that is very different than any other school. And that was one of the things that yeah, exactly. And that was one of the things that I picked up on that interview that Austin did with Colette, where he talks about that, where it's like, this is the offering that we have. Like, this is the future that we have. These are the things that you can get into. Like, there's more of a lifestyle to it. And I mean, for me, as an adult, I'm like, shit, why didn't I hear that pitch when I was an 18-year-old kid? You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of thing that I think gives you that sense of security, where these other schools and these other coaches, they have to re-recruit their guys every single year, and they have to renegotiate, and it's always going to be a contract negotiation, and NIL comes into play, and let's get them some really cool stuff this year, and let's make sure that the donors are putting the money in. And now we have the House versus NCAA case, which now says that rev share is legal and they can just pay their athletes. Like, there's all these different things that all these other schools have to worry about. And like, Nickerson's like, well, see you to that. Like, I don't need that. Like, that's not a worry of mine. So, I do agree with Kevin. I feel like this will be a great structure for him. And I also agree with Austin that, like, he should do what he can to keep Scott Green, because it's going to be a learning curve of the recruitment, as it is a great thing that he is now inheriting, of having this set of standards and not having to worry about all the other things that these other schools have to worry about, no matter how blank the check is at Oklahoma State, according to Jordan Burroughs in his interview today. It's still a transition, and keeping Scott Green on that staff, for me, would be like number one on that list. It would be absolute number one on that list, as having somebody that has been part of the program, has worked with the people, and knows his way around the recruiting pitch and everything, and all the administrative stuff and everything else that comes with a job of this caliber. So, I am making sure, and obviously they are friends. I believe Scott Green coached Troy Nickerson when he was, a young wrestler as well. So, like, that is a relationship and a friendship that I try to make sure I'm nursing if I can, right? Like, and I'm sure they've talked over the years. I'm sure, everybody in wrestling basically talks to each other, or they hate each other. It's one or the other. But
Sometimes it's day to day.
It's it changes from day to day. I mean, Burrows talked today about his relationship with David Taylor and his relationship with Kyle Dake and how there was ebb and flow and everything else. So you either love each other or you hate each other, right? But I'm like I said,
Love hurts.
I would certainly be, as soon as I got that phone call that it was me getting the job, my next phone call, after telling family is to Scott Green and making sure that he's the guy on my coaching staff or the guy that has already been, around this team that isn't going anywhere. But Scott Green does have options and he can make some moves if he wants to make some moves. So it is TBD on where Scott Green goes. And that kind of takes me to the next part of this is who are these coaches that, there's now a head coaching position that is open. Who are the coaches that you think try to make the jump to Northern Colorado? I mean, I'll be straightforward. I asked Nate Angle because Nate Angle was one of the guys that was part of this. If he wanted to, make the move, he's like, no, not. I'm happy where I'm at with Oregon State, and he, him and Chris get along well. He loves Chris, Chris Pendleton, that is, and he's like, no, not interested in that one. Would be interested in the the Army job as a former assistant at Navy, but not interested in that one, right? So, it was for me. I'm like, okay, this is a guy that, like I said, I would want to have a chance, but Northern Colorado isn't on the radar for him. I think he's obviously in a better spot at Oregon State. But for you guys, Robbie, your thoughts? Who are some of the coaches that come to mind that you think will throw their hat in the ring? Are they the same coaches that attempted to get this job or others that were outside of the realm when looking at, some of the open positions over the last couple of years or at least couple of months?
I mean, I think we'll see some of the same applicants. A lot of associate head coaches looking to move up and get a head job because they're so limited. I mean, there's only so many programs and there's not a lot of movement in the head coaching ranks. So the same guys that are going after that opportunity because they want to be a head coach. So I would expect to see a lot of those same names. I don't think we're going to see nearly the same amount of current head coaches applying for this job. Greeley, Colorado doesn't quite have the same feel as yeah, that's one way to put it. It smells like sugar beets. So you're not going to have the same. I'm not going to say caliber because that's not the right word. You're not going to have the same breadth of current head coaches applying for this job. But I think there are going to be some big names for associate head coaches who are looking for moving up. I haven't talked to him yet, but I know Tony Ramos has been looking to move up and has been on a short list for a lot of jobs. I don't know if he's going after this one.
It'd be kind of
early about Brian,
honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like there's only so many, and you never know when another one's going to open up. So I think you take the opportunity if that's what you're really trying to go for. The other one I'd be really interested to know about is what you talked about earlier with Brian Snyder. That's not that far of a drive down I-80. Is that one that we see? But I don't have any names yet, just because it's fresh. It's only a few hours ago that they actually posted it. But those would be some of the guys I would expect.
Yeah, the one wrinkle for me with Ramos and Snyder is the family aspect. We started off this episode talking about Father's Day, and all the fathers in wrestling, right? Both those guys, fathers. That's a big, it may be a short trip for Snyder, but it ain't a short trip for Tony Ramos. And, or really too many of these other guys, right? Like, so who knows who's going to be enticed by moving to Colorado? That's the other thing for me, right? Because, excuse me, like these associate head coaches, they may want a new head coaching job, but at what kind of price, right? Like, where does it, because if you ask me, they're probably going to want to use this as a stepping stone to go somewhere else. And you don't want to uproot your family for a stepping stone, something that, and this isn't a shot at Northern Colorado, but like this isn't it isn't one of the bigger name programs. Troy Nickerson was able to do a lot of really good things there with being there as long as he was. I feel like for anyone that may be kind of a shoe-in to be a head coach, guys that have been like the perennial associate head coaches, this wouldn't, this probably wouldn't be like I'm putting roots down kind of a thing. Especially because, as I said, they have families, they're dads, like they're taking, their sons, their daughters, their wives, and making this trek to Greeley, Colorado. As you said, it's not as enticing. So that's the part for me where I'm like, I don't know. That's why, like, I'm racking my brain to think of who would be in the mix for this, mostly because I feel like it would be a stepping stone of saying, I had a head coaching job, I know how this works, and now I can maybe apply for XYZ job that comes up in the future.
I think we saw a similar situation last summer with Utah Valley, because wasn't that high priority or high value of a program. But Adam Hall made so much sense in so many ways, and that's getting closer back to his family, and like that made sense to move his entire family back across the country to Utah. That's closer to where he's from, closer to his family. So that one makes sense. Nobody off the top of my head is coming to mind of saying, who wants to be closer to family or back where their roots are. That's somewhere near Greeley, Colorado, which I don't know. It's the corner of Wyoming, Nebraska, and Colorado. So there's so many options there. I've lived in all of them. There's not a lot of great options there.
Yeah. Austin, Kevin, your thoughts on the vacancy and who you could see filling it possibly?
Yeah, I agree. It's probably I hate to say it, but more of a stepping stone for a young coach looking to get some head coaching experience. And it's been done before. Coach Ward is a good example of a great Division II coach taking, getting a chance at a lower end division. Well, maybe not lower end when he went to Army, but a middle tier Division I job. And maybe that's something that we see. One of the top D2 coaches. I don't follow D2 close enough to know any names there, but that's also a possibility. Maybe an NAIA school coach, looking to get into the Division I ranks. And I think, like I said, I think we'll see some good names there. I just don't know who right now. It's still pretty fresh.
Yeah, man, I wrote down so many names, and I don't think any of them are realistic. So,
Dale Sanderson?
Yeah, Dale, yes. Cody Sanderson, sick of being in the shadows of his brother.
What if it was Kyler? Just throws everybody off.
Yeah, Kyler goes there.
We got Sanderson. Which one? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. We got one.
Starts with a C.
Steve.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know. I'm looking through like a bunch of names here, and none of these guys would go do it. And I think part of it is like, again, this is not necessarily like a knock at Northern Colorado, but like it's probably a paid decrease realistically to go from like a Big Ten associate head coach or assistant coach position to that role, right? Yeah. And you're not going to come out of a situation that's good for you to be, more volatile with the family and everything, right? Like, why would a guy like, even Frank Molinaro, right? Like they've had some success at Arizona State. I'm sure he wants to be a head coach someday. I don't know that I would move for that job. Coleman Scott, I know, was out there and available, right? He can go back to UNC. It's just a different one. So
he has his own.
He's on the farm
now. He's got the farm now. I don't think he's going anywhere. His roots are back down in Stillwater,
and his compensation's probably better, all encompassing. So, but like Josh Chirella's not leaving Michigan for something like this. Also, I hope he doesn't leave Michigan ever. John Reeder is not moving to Colorado for this. If he was going to move anywhere, I think it would be closer to Michigan. So.
That's another guy that I'm like, man, I want to see him as a head coach is Reeder.
Yeah, he would be awesome. But like, I don't see that happening. So I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see the applicants, to see where they're coming from, to see what ends up happening. this just popped into my head, and it's not going to happen, but it would be interesting if Scott Green went to Northern Colorado.
Yeah, I thought of it too.
There's no Wegmans in Colorado.
Well, shit, that's out.
There's no
It's
Wegmans
west of
out
the
there.
Mississippi.
Yeah,
Nope,
there's
west of the
definitely
Mississippi,
there's
there
no
isn't any.
Wegmans. There's no Wegmans. There's no way that's happening.
Man,
Yeah.
back to the drawing board.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll certainly see. We'll keep our ear to the ground and see if we hear anything.
I think, to be fair to Northern Colorado, I feel like a lot of this segment has been shitting on Northern Colorado, but like
It's more so
clearly,
the area and just saying like, man, who's going to want to make that move?
but here's the thing that we didn't talk about, and we've given Troy Nickerson all these props, and deservedly so. That doesn't happen without the athletic department buying into what he's selling them to, right?
Yes.
So clearly they've seen the value in what reinvesting in the program can do. They've consistently gotten, new gear, new mats, new things. Like, it's been a massive improvement there. So I hope that continues with, whatever they're going to invest in this next coaching search and, what they can do. But assuming they don't lose too many kids from the roster, they had a decent team, so they could inherit a good situation and build on that.
Yeah, remember, Alira's was in the transfer portal. Was it last year already? And he ended up staying. So, it couldn't have been that bad, for him to stay there and continue trying to get another title. So, yeah, I agree with you. There's some good stuff there. I was actually there once, and I was there for work, stopped in, talked to Nickerson a little bit. They have a nice little campus there and nice little area, but like you said,
It's actually a pretty school. It's
a nice campus, nice school, nice little town, but
it
like
does smell like sugar beets though. And if you've never smelled sugar beets being processed, it'll wake you up.
Is that what that smell was? I thought it was just
Yeah.
the Colorado air.
No,
The
Colorado air
legal
smells
there,
much
but-
better. No.
But yeah,
Colorado air probably smells like weed, but
Yeah, for real.
honestly. So yeah, we'll certainly see what happens. Gentlemen, I'm gonna skip the next thing we have on our list, the Bo Bartlett post, because I don't really even know what to make of it. I read it, it was really vague. I saw his wife's posts about Carter Starachi and the investigator and stealing stuff and violating teammates, and I as much of like those allegations that I'm like, holy shit, the long post that he put into the forum, I don't, it was just super vague to the point where I'm like, I don't know how you want me to react, because a part of me is like, fans are going to be fans and they're going to talk shit, and your fans, let's call it what it is, they
talk shit to everybody.
They talk shit to everyone. They booed Jordan Burroughs. Like, it wasn't like they were like the most friendly. So, and you guys spoil the shit out of them because you beat the hell out of everyone. So now they're even worse. And you know what I mean? So they're gonna talk and they're gonna do what they want to do. And I mean, fans, and let's call it what it is. We're still a small sport, guys. So like, the fans that we have that go on message boards or post things or whatever else, like, that is not even a pebble in the ocean of how bad fans get. Mm-hmm. So, like I said, I love Bo, love his dad, pretty good friends with them. Every time I see his dad, gives me a hug and we talk for a good bit, but I don't really know what to make of it. So I don't know. I have no idea. So I guess this is one of those things where, like, let's see how it develops. And when things develop, we'll give it, I guess, a little bit more airtime. I want to move to Final X, but before moving to Final X, I want to talk about the Vito match, the match at 61 that we will not see this weekend. What do you guys think about the medalist being the only one, the returning medalist being the only one that can postpone a world team wrestle off? Kevin, your thoughts?
Go win a world medal. We talked about this like a week or two ago. Like, when you do cool shit, you get like benefits. Like, I don't know. I mean, like
disorderly conduct charges.
Hey, different levels. There's levels to this game. Yeah, to my knowledge, I think once you get a disorderly conduct, it vetoes, no pun intended, your opportunity to delay it. No, I don't know. I think like realistically, I didn't know that was a rule. I'm learning about this right now. I mean, I knew that it was postponed, but I didn't know that that was like the official rule. I don't have any problem with it. If you're defending, and you aren't healthy enough to compete at the level you feel like you need to get your spot back, then you should have a chance to postpone it. It's not like people take a ton of advantages with this over year after year after year, right? I mean, there's certain instances where it's happened, but it's not a habitual thing.
You're right.
Not a habitual line stepper.
Yeah, you're right in that regard. I mean, and the rule used to be way worse, where you could, and I mean the Marable thing, he postponed it at weigh-ins. It used to be up to weigh-ins, and it was changed to within 48 hours, like up to 48 hours before the match, you can postpone. So Vito is well in advance on postponing it at least. So at least Jax isn't having to play a guessing game, and he can, tailor his weight cut or whatever else he has to do. But Dake did this in 2019. The wrestle-off happened here in Austin when he wrestled Ringer, and he went on to win a world title. The only thing is, and full transparency, like Piles reminded me of this when they talked about it today. I was watching the Burroughs interview, and they talked about this on a separate clip before. But I was reminded of it when Pyle said it, of like Dake postponed it, said he had a doctor's note and wasn't able to compete until a certain time. However, he went and competed at an international tournament the month before and won that tournament. And it was just like, well, if you can't compete until then, how are you able to go? But I mean, they figured it all out. So like, that's the only time that I remember this being kind of taken advantage of, was when Dake did that. The Molinaro thing, that was the first Fargo match, and obviously Vito and Jax will wrestle at Fargo. And Molinaro fell off a treadmill, so they say, whatever else. And
you're saying Marable?
Marable, yeah.
Yeah, okay. You were saying Molinaro, and I was like, wait a
minute.
Yeah.
When you said, Molinaro was in my head from
talking
about coaches.
Frank would never fall off a treadmill.
No. He runs on him with his arms.
Yeah. Actually, he's way too strong for that. The Gorilla Hawk.
Yeah.
He would never lose his balance. But yeah, Marable falling off a treadmill, and he had won the Open and everything else, and was sitting in the finals. But I don't like that. And I didn't like it then. I didn't like that the Dake was able to do it, because if Ringer was banged up, he either has to forfeit or wrestle hurt. And that's why I'm like, man, it sucks. I get it. You're the returning medalist, but like the objective is make the best team. And if the guy that's the returning medalist isn't the best, I mean, say this was Chance Marsteller. Chance Marsteller was the returning medalist, but Jordan Burroughs was the contender. You'd be like, well, Chance can postpone, but like Jordan's banged up. I'm pretty sure you'd want to see a fully healthy Jordan Burroughs wrestle Chance Marsteller, but he wouldn't be able to postpone it. So like, that's where I'm like, if a guy makes the finals, you both have made the finals, you should get the benefit of saying, I am not ready, and we should move this match so that I am 100% healthy. And it's not like you can just say, hey, I'm hurt. They get checked out. Like, it's not a I stubbed my toe and now I can't wrestle the match. They legit get checked and everything else, and there's doctors involved in the postponement. So from my vantage point, I'm not really a fan of it. This is nothing to do with Vito whatsoever. This is me looking at the rule. I feel like if you are a finalist to make the world team, you should get the benefit of the same rules. You're not able to compete. So you should get the benefit of the same rules if you're banged up, because not for nothing, all the people that are sitting in the finals, Vito hasn't competed in 8-9 months. Helen Maroulis hasn't competed since what? Worlds? Like the other person that you are facing just competed at the Open more recently. So if they're banged up from wrestling however many matches they have to wrestle in the Open, but they have to heal up quick to get ready for Final X, it's just and I get it, again, unequal playing field because the returning medalist gets the benefit. But if you make the finals, you should have the same rule apply to you. That's just my thought.
The logistics on that would be so tough to plan an event, to do all those. I think they're having some limiting factors on who gets to raise their hand and have the doctor come check them out. I think is almost just for that piece, right?
We have enough trouble running events that are clearly planned, let alone pulling shit out of the hat at the last minute.
Right.
True.
I have a 48-hour window. It's hour 49. I fell down the stairs. Shit, I had another point. I don't remember what it was. Sorry, you guys talk. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'll
Give
get
you
it
a
when
topic.
I'll get it when it comes back around. Robbie, your thoughts on the rule. Not so much Vito doing it, but on the rule itself.
I'm kind of with you. Like, I feel like it either has to be, this is the date we're wrestling, and that's, if you can't wrestle, you can't wrestle, or it has to be extended to both sides. I don't think there should be, stipulations of, oh, well, you were in the bronze match, but you didn't place, you got fifth, so you don't get the same opportunities as somebody who got third or, was a world champ. I think if we're going to grant that stay and that extension, it should be available to anybody. But like you said, logistically, that doesn't make sense. So the more logical way would be, we have Final X on this date. Everybody knows this date. You can wrestle. If you can't, sorry, shit out of luck. I mean, there's not, I don't like the difference in rule sets or difference in options between different weights and different styles. And like, there just needs to be consistency.
Well, that was the point I was going to make. In the same breath, you can say, in an effort to make the best team, the returning medalist, being the person who has proven on the biggest stage that they can have the success we're trying to achieve by putting this team together, has the grace to postpone it in order to have them have the best team. You know what I mean? And whether that makes them the best team or not, but like, this person is at least proven there's like actual evidence that they're going to be able to get this done, where this other person's a contender. There's no evidence that they're going to be able to do the same thing that this person did. Therefore, this person has the opportunity to postpone it, whereas this person is shit out of luck. Don't get hurt. That's the rule.
There you go. Austin?
Stay off the treadmills.
I'm kind of in agreement with you guys. It's like these guys got the advantage of waiting until Final X. And you said there's months and months go by where these guys don't compete. And these other guys are grinding at the Open, a month ago, 6 weeks ago, and they had to heal up. So,
and in some of them at the trials. I mean, think about it. Dake wrestled the Open and lost, and then came back and wrestled the trials.
Yeah, that was 2-3 weeks ago now. So yeah, it's these guys have wrestled. Some of these guys have wrestled a bunch, and I think if you make the finals, you should have a say. But again, I'm torn. I get why they do it, but I'd like to see it distributed both ways, where it's, hey, you made the finals, you're hurt, okay, let's delay it. This guy already got to wait till Final X. So
at the same time, though, like, if we're looking across the board at different countries and different governing bodies and how they name their teams, we're one of the last countries to actually finalize a team to send to Worlds. So we're already pushing it out further than almost anybody else does. Now, granted, there's a lot more actual, not assigning spots in our way of doing things. But if we're already pushing it out that far, we're not that far away from them traveling to camps and acclimation camps and all the things that go along with traveling to Worlds. So, how much more can we really push it out? Like, there just needs to be, boom, this is the date. We're already pushed out this far. If you can't wrestle, you can't wrestle, world champ or not. Just because you won a world championship last year doesn't mean you're going to do anything this year. I mean, we've seen Burroughs not on a podium. So it's not guaranteed.
You're right. So we'll see what happens, right? Well, I mean, that match is going to be in Fargo. The funniest thing that I had seen when that announcement came out was somebody said, "Well, what if Jax wanted to wrestle at Fargo?"
Yeah, I did like that one.
I mean, I doubt that he did, but still, it's still really really funny.
I think they should make both of them stay in the dorms with no air conditioning. Just
Oh
because
yeah.
I don't
Rebel
wish that
blanket.
on anyone. I was looking at that schedule and I was like, I cannot believe that in 2014 and 2015, I believe 16, we were there for every single day.
that sounds
Every
awful.
day, living in the dorms with this burlap sack that they give us for a blanket, which you don't even need because there's no air conditioning in the dorm that we're in, and it's disgustingly hot, and it's just horrible. It is so
Yeah.
bad. It is the worst thing ever. And I've been to Siberia, my friends. It is Fargo worse than Regan. So, yeah, there's that. But let's move on to
Never thought I would hear Fargo compared to, was that Yakutsk?
it was Krasnoyarsk is where we were. Yeah. That the rooms we got were awesome.
Bet they had
Absolutely
heat.
great. Yeah, they were awesome. I mean, we were absolutely frozen as soon as we walked out of the hotel. The thing that got me is they had a sign that was in the hotel that was like in the revolving door, like in the center of it, and it just said "Real Winter," and I was like, I'm ready to go home. And we were there for the same amount of time that we took trips to Fargo. Mike Mal and I on that trip. There was a frozen ice slide outside our hotel.
That sounds awesome.
I love that. Like, if I said Krasnoyarsk or like Regan to somebody outside of wrestling, like they would think I was making places up, like that they came from Harry Potter or something. They'd be like, "What book was that in?" It's like,
Nope,
nope,
very
that's
real.
a place. It's a place
Very
that
real.
exists in this world.
I lost my flip flops in the Yensa when we dove in there. Sat in
You're
that.
wearing flip flops in Siberia. That's ballsy.
Well, no, we were. Well, here's the story. We were at the banya at the sauna, and in order to do the sauna the correct way, you have to walk down these frozen ice steps to jump into the Yensa River. And then you jump out of the river and you go get in the sauna, and you do this multiple times. It's literally what they do. And as we're walking
Sounds
down,
awesome.
there's this, oh, it's the worst thing ever. As we're walking down, there's this old woman in a bikini. She was probably like 70, 75, maybe 80. And she's just
Did you get her
sitting,
number?
she's just sitting in the Ensa, just like throwing water over her shoulders, like, giving us the stupid American look. And like I dove in and right back out, but I came back out and flip flops were gone. And Mike Mal dove in and his beard froze. Like it was the craziest thing. Video is still on Flow Wrestling, so go check that out. That was
Did you give her the stupid old lady look?
no.
Get out of the damn water, lady.
Listen, she was enjoying herself. You could tell it was something that she had been doing for the longest time. But yeah,
She beat you with that frozen flip flop. Say the wrong
bro.
thing.
Those flip flops are somewhere lost in the bottom of that frozen river. Yeah, definitely one of the best times. We got stuck in the Moscow airport on the way back because our flight was delayed out of Krasnoyarsk to Moscow. So we were in the Moscow airport for 12 hours, and then we spent the night in Paris, which was really cool. Yeah, so yeah, yep, made it back like 2 days later. Normally it takes you like a day and a half. You like lose a day in your travels. We got back a couple days, a little bit later. But awesome trip. Loved working with Mike Mal. Love that guy. Hopefully I have a chance to do it here in the near future. Anyway, let's get to Final
Shout out
X.
Malicious Intent.
Shout out. He's back to doing Behind the Dirt as well. So go check out Mike Mal's content. Man's awesome. Let's get to Final X. Let's talk men's freestyle. We will put out our picks for both men's and women's freestyle. They're going to be running 2 mats. We'll also make picks for the true thirds, but like I said, we'll put those out on the socials and stuff like that. We're going to focus on the men's freestyle matches. I know we've been talking for a while. So let's start 74 right off the bat, coming in with some heat. Messenbrink and Carr. Austin, who's your pick? How do you think this one's going to go?
Ooh, that's a good one off the bat. I
Keep in mind, Messenbrink won by tech when they wrestled last time.
I think that pace is gonna be a lot for Carr to overcome. Although I did see Carr was training at Pennsylvania RTC with Burroughs a little bit.
Damn it, that was my whole point.
I just think Messenbrink's pace and just will and refusing to lose is going to be a lot. So I'll take him 2 matches to 0 probably.
Oh, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, as much as I believe that training with Jordan Burroughs could make me do a backflip, if I wanted to, I don't know, man. Messenbrink. I said it, I think, last week on Blood Round. Like, I just want to, or maybe it was here. I don't know. This all just blends together now. But I just want to release Mitchell Messenbrink on the rest of the world and be like, go fucking deal with this. Like, have fun.
Good luck.
Yeah. And not only is he going to kick your ass, he's going to annoy the shit out of you too.
Yeah.
He is going to be in your space and on the edge of the mat, and then he's going to smile after he texts you in 30 seconds.
And put on his serial killer glasses.
Yeah.
He's on the podium.
Robbie, go ahead.
Yeah, he's the pick.
Robbie, yours?
Yeah, I think it's Messenbrink. He just seems so not fun to compete against in so many ways. But I think David will get 1. I think it will go 2-1, but I think I got Messenbrink.
Yeah, I agree with you, Robbie. I think it goes 2-1. The pace is definitely something to deal with. Like I said, I watched the Burroughs interview, and Burroughs talked about the match and breaking the match down and what David did in that first match that put himself in trouble. Instead of giving up 1 on a step out, he gives up 4. And that was like the big differentiator. So I think that nuance there with Carr is going to be the difference in this match. And like I said, I am taking Messenbrink, even though the last time that I picked against David Carr, he went out and beat Takatani. So you know what? Screw it. I'm gonna go David Carr because I'll be different than the rest. You guys are picking Messenbrink. I'll pick David Carr. 79, Evan Wick and Levi Haynes. This is gonna be a fun one. I'll make my pick first. I think Haynes is able to chop down this cherry tree that is called Evan Wick. And I think he does it 2 matches to 0. I think Haynes stays in good position, but it's going to take a good amount of adjustments to get used to Wick's length. Robbie, your pick.
Wick is 14 feet tall.
He's Groot.
I was gonna say he's Groot.
I was super impressed by the way Wick looked at the Open, and I like the changes that he's made. He's been doing a lot more international stuff, and I think he's able to get over the hump and get on the world team this year. So I got it 2-1 Wick.
Kev.
I don't know. I want to pick Wick because he's older and I'm older, and that feels
But
right.
you're not 14 feet tall.
I am not, but I do like ankle picks. I don't know. The thing that I'm most impressed with Haynes is how, and I know the difference between freestyle and folk style, right? But like, he came back and he kicked Hamidy's butt this time.
I think Haynes is better at freestyle than he is at folk style, because if you think about it, he also beat O'Toole in freestyle last year.
He did. He also lost to Facundo in freestyle last year.
Yeah, true.
So like, I don't know, but he appears to have made improvements. Is my point. I'm just gonna pick him. I'm gonna pick him because he wrestles all day with Mitchell Messenbrink and Cale Sanderson, and I've seen a lot of videos from Penn State wrestling lately where he and like Josh Barr they must be friends because they seem to be in a lot of videos together. And I think I like Levi Haynes. I think he seems nice. So
Austin.
I'm going to pick him.
In basketball, I'm going to take Wick all day, but this is wrestling, so I'm going to take Haynes. I think he wins. I think Wick might take one just because he's lengthy, but I think Haynes makes adjustments 2-1. Haynes.
Yeah, I have 2-1 as well.
Cool.
Copycat.
Heavyweight, Hendrickson, Hilger. Kev, your pick first.
Hendrickson is going to win this, probably 2-0. He's a super freak. He beat Gable Stevenson, who beat the world a couple years ago. So ipso facto, he's the best in the world.
Transitive.
Yes. As much as I want to pick my dude from Michigan, Trent, who has made improvements, but the field he went through is not the same field that involved Wyatt Hendrickson here. So that's my pick.
True. Robbie?
I'm going good mustache over great hair. So
Does
I'm
he
going
still have the
Hendrickson
mustache? I thought he shaved it.
He damn well better, or it's going to change my pick.
I thought he shaved the mustache after he won. I thought Officer
Look,
Fargo
Wyatt.
was
Wyatt,
retired.
look at me. Look at me, Wyatt. You have 5 days. Mustache in whatever town this is in New Jersey.
Newark.
I don't remember. Newark. There we go. I was going to say New Brunswick, and I knew that wasn't right. You have 5 days to have your mustache, or I'll get my ass kicked by you.
But he's still picking you to win this.
Choose
Yeah.
wisely, Wyatt.
Yeah. Yeah. Austin, your pick.
I'm going Hendrickson, 10-4 win at the U.S. Open. I think he's going to repeat that probably pretty easily. So yeah, I'm going to take Hendrickson 2-0.
Yeah. Yep. Give me littering and Officer Farba.
Littering.
I'd take Hendrickson. 92.
And he gets a liter of cola.
A liter of cola. 92 is going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a great match. This is outside of we'll obviously get to kind of the main event stuff. This is one of the matches that I'm really excited to see. Hidley versus Barr, mostly because I feel like it's Trent Hidley's time. I feel like he has put in so much work, and again, full bias on the table, his coach is one of my best friends. So there's that factor. But outside of that, I honestly feel like Trent Hidley is kind of due for this, right? He's been on this stage for a long time, losing to Brooks, losing to Zahid. Like, he's been, losing to Taylor as well, right? Like, I'm taking Trent Hidley, but I think it goes 3 matches. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Kevin?
I think it goes 3 matches as well, and I want to pick Trent Hidley for the same reason that you just said, Ryan. But I'm going to pick Josh Barr because I think that every time I pick against Josh Barr, I think he's not big enough for 197, or, oh, it's a bummer he hurt his knee at Big Tens. Now he's going to have a bad NCAA tournament. Oh, whatever I've thought over, I've been wrong every time. And so I think he's going to get it done. I think he's going to go out there. He's going to win 2 out of 3 and represent the United States. But yes, also he wrestles with all the same guys that I was just referencing earlier who were in the Penn State room. It seems to that also is a power of transitive properties that we were talking about earlier.
They've got 5 of them in here. Austin, your pick?
Something, the way Claunch was talking about Barr always kind of being the underdog and, kind of counting him out, makes you want to pick him. But I think it's Hidley's time. I think it's Trent's time. But I think Barr can keep it close just with Trent's underhooks and how good he is out of that. I think Barr working with guys like Brooks in that room and things like that, he'll get a good feel for that on maybe how to stop that, how to slow that down. But I just think Trent is too big, too powerful. I think it's his time. I'd like to see him win.
If anybody knows how to stop Trent Hidley's underhook, it's probably Aaron Brooks.
Yeah.
Just a thought. Yeah. Robbie?
I would say I would counter with that I think Trent has become even more offensive from his underhooks.
Yeah.
And doesn't just use it for position as he did more in the Brooks matches. I think he's opening up a lot more shots off of it. He's using the edge better, not just for step outs, but he's making those improvements that I think are going to take him to the next level. I think either way we have a legitimate medal contender at this weight, but I think it's Trent's time. He's been knocking on that door the last few years, and he's right there, and he's looked fantastic. And full disclosure, the Hythley family is amazing, and it's been one of my favorite families to get to know over the last few years. So I just want to see Trent on that team personally. I think he's there.
Yeah.
Are we going to see it?
On this show,
Absolutely.
we call out our biases, people. We let you know that we've got certain biases. So that should give you the trust in us even more so.
We're in the trust tree.
We're bringing you into the trust tree. We're telling you what our biases are at every turn. 97, Kyle Snyder. Robbie.
Nope.
Not going to do it.
Hayden Zilmer. No, I mean, he's, as much as I've been going on about this for a few weeks, I don't think he should be wrestling. He's probably going to win. Moving on.
He probably is going to win. But the other thing is Hayden Zilmer is a world team member. He's wrestled for the United States at the World Championships at heavyweight. I have the impression that Snyder's training might have been a little bit derailed, or he might have been a little bit sidetracked as of late. And how much
more adjectives we could use?
We'll see.
I don't think so. I believe he was training the next day.
Hey, but
he's in the room. He's down in the room working out right now.
I don't know. Maybe he's just a robot, and that's maybe he's not Captain America. He's War Machine or whatever, right? Like, I guess he was also just a person in a suit, for that matter. Come to think of it, but point being is, like, I don't know. Maybe he just emotionally shuts off and just goes and trains, and this doesn't affect any of that. But I don't like to think that way. I think it's probably going to affect it somehow. Now, whether it's going to show in the match or not, I don't know. I'm spitballing reasons why I can pick Hayden Zilmer. And so I'm going to pick Hayden Zilmer 2 matches to 1.
I think, and I don't want to butt in here on y'all, but I think that this is probably, wrestling is the most normal thing for Kyle Snyder at this point, with everything that he has gone through recently. So, as I said, I was told he went to practice the following day, or maybe when he got back to Pennsylvania, right? Like, he was at practice and he's been training, and it was a kind of a blip on the radar in terms of the derailment of his training. But
truly was a quick visit then.
Yeah, listen, I'm staying away from that. All I'm saying is that I feel like he continued the normalcy of his training. And I think that wrestling is the most normal thing for him. So I do think it's not going to be easy, because Hayden Zilmer has continued to progress and grow. And
he's a large man.
He is. And I mean, I know, Gable has still been in the room.
Right.
So there's that factor as well.
He's literally training with Trent Hilger, who's on this card.
Yes.
Gable Stevenson, and then obviously himself, I guess.
And maybe even Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar still pops into the room from
maybe Max McAnally.
Yeah, definitely McAnally. I would
Brandon
say
Eggum.
Yeah. So
good training partners.
Partners.
To Snyder's credit too, like, they're doing the thing that you like. Having that sense of normalcy is helpful in times where you're struggling to get through something. So, hell, maybe it's made him better. I don't know.
The only thing that I will say is that it might, I don't know what his mental state is, right? But this would be the first public appearance for Kyle Snyder since everything happened. So who's to say what type of, and I think he's going to get a lot of support and a lot of, a round of applause and an ovation and everything else, is what I think. So that, I think, will maybe play some sort of a factor, but I doubt it, right? Like, he's wrestled in the most hostile places at Worlds all his life. So, but that is something, right? Like, this is a little bit different as a domestic, and he had a situation take place that may have derailed maybe the mental capacity or the psyche or whatever else. But that's the only thing that I'll say about it. Austin, your pick.
Yeah, I'm going to take Snyder, but I was kind of piggyback off your point. Just curious of what kind of reception he will get. I'm sure it'll be a lot of
I
Penn
think we
State
know.
line
I think
wrestling
we know
clubs.
the answer.
Yeah, I think
I
we
mean,
do.
it's going to be a lot of Penn State people cheering him on, but there's
Yeah.
going to be some boos. So I'm sure he's expecting that, expecting the worst and hoping for something better. So, I mean, yeah, we'll have to see what kind of reception he gets. But like I said, I think he's going to win this one easily, 2 matches to none.
Yeah.
Very interested to see. I'll be up there. Um, Very interested to see how they handle press with him.
He is
Um,
not on the availability list of press as of from what I know.
Now I
I think they sent
believe
out I
that
think they sent out the email.
yeah, I believe though that it's within their bylaws that the champions have to be made available for
Correct.
interviews immediately after.
Immediately
So
after.
I'm interested to see how that shakes out and if anything is asked about it or what approach is taken there.
Can the champions postpone their interviews if they're hurt?
Only if they were world medalists.
I
Yes.
I I think that he will be protected in that regard. I think there will most likely be some sort of statement, possibly from Immel in the scrum that says keep it to wrestling, so to speak. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Anyway, 65, McKenna, Real Woods. Joey McKenna is a guy that is like always on the cusp of like everything, and we'll see. I mean, he was at Pan Am's and ended up losing late, giving up I believe a push out to lose late. So I'm hopeful that those adjustments are being made so that in the tightest of times he wrestles through them. But with that, I will say, Real Woods, pun intended, is the real deal. And we've seen him step up a number of times in a number of situations. And I also feel like Real may be better at freestyle than he is folk style. I think a lot of our guys could be potentially better at freestyle than they are at folk style, because of the mat awareness and everything else that they have, where they can't put themselves in trouble because they'll give up points. So I feel like mat awareness is always a lot of the time in our favor for any of the guys that we have. But this is an interesting matchup, right? Because this is the kind of the first like big time that we're seeing Joey McKenna and Real Woods with their new corners and with the preparation for a big match with their new corners of Oklahoma State and Michigan. So we'll certainly see how it pans out. But I'm gonna take McKenna. I think it does go 3 bouts, but I'm gonna take Joey McKenna. Austin, your pick.
Um, Little bias on the table here. I will also go with Joey McKenna. Spent some time in Philly, obviously at the Pennsylvania RTC. Called some matches with him. Overall, great guy. Um, it's just, I think it's cool these guys both have Stanford degrees and went on elsewhere to get masters and degrees from elsewhere, Big Ten schools especially. So Stanford Cardinal showing up here big
Fun
time.
fact.
But yeah,
Smack
I'm gonna go
kids.
McKenna. I'm gonna go the old school Cardinal.
There you go. Kevin.
I'm not biased at all. I will never admit to having any here or anywhere.
And with
Fire
that,
check.
he picks Real Woods.
Yeah. With that, I think Real Woods. No, I mean I'm picking Real Woods, but 2-1. Very biased. His run like at the trials thing. I don't remember the name of the last tournament, but he's basically the analogy I'm trying to make is he's on like a Tyrese Halliburton-esque run for those of you that follow basketball, just like come back out of nowhere, making crazy shots, just like doesn't matter. Are we better than this team? Nope, but we're going to beat them. And so I don't know, man, he's on a run. He's got to be feeling pretty confident. If we're going to talk about, if I'm going to talk about other people in the room that he's training with, he's definitely got great people at the Cliff Keen Wrestling Club working with, Pantaleo's around his weight, Sergio Lemley, which we've talked about already many, many times. Alex
You've
Ewing is
talked
a
about
great
it
coach.
many.
I'm glad he made his way
I
into
think it was a
freestyle
collective
episode.
conversation. I think it was a collective group think around Lemley.
Do you have a Serial Lemley t-shirt yet or what?
No, not yet. Not yet.
We need to make this happen.
Sure it'll happen.
I think I know a
But
guy.
I don't. I think he's got. I think he's going to get it done. With McKenna, I feel like he's been that close because he's. I mean, it's really tough to get through guys like Zane Rutherford and Yanni at the weight and all these other guys who've been down there over the years. But B, like, I just feel like he's a little inconsistent. You know, he gives up the points when you shouldn't, and recently Real Woods has been getting him when you should. So,
Robbie?
I think I'd even argue that the other way. I think McKenna is just a super seasoned freestyle wrestler and is always very mat aware. And I think that gives an advantage over a less experienced guy in Real Woods. So even though Real has been on a great run, but he almost lost first round. So
thanks to a nice little club and drop to a double, he was able to take out Aiden Valencia.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, there's something to be said for that too. And I just think Joey is too savvy. I think he gets this one done 2-1.
70.
There's a lot of things that would be different if things didn't happen.
Everything.
So, but it did happen.
But it did happen.
So, yeah.
And now we're right where we need to be. At 70 kilos, we're Yanni Diakomahalis and PJ Duke. Just a couple of New Yorkers hoping to take the 70 kilogram spot. I'm going with Yanni. PJ Duke, man, we've talked about him a couple of times and the things that he has done. I mean, he already made the U20 team
and U23.
He made both teams.
He can opt into.
He can opt into U23 here. Yes. That is the other wrinkle. I think, what is it? Him and Lillidahl can both take those U23 spots if they want them.
Haynes on that one too?
Haynes might be on that one too. I don't know. I look at him and I see the
beard. Yeah.
Are you still that young? But yeah, I'm taking Yanni, man. I think that he's had a good amount of time to heal. He's had a good amount of time to adjust to this weight class and being this heavy and being this strong, and just dealing with his new body in this weight class, right? I think that's the number one thing is Yanni looked super comfortable when we saw him wrestle at the Open and win this spot. And I feel like scrambles, you always feel like scrambles are in Yanni's favor because we've seen Yanni scramble like crazy to get wins. But as I say that, I do not think that you can overlook PJ Duke in any sense of the imagination. I think PJ Duke is eventually going to be a world champion, a senior level world champion. But I don't think it happens this year. I think Yanni takes the spot. I think he takes it 2-0, very close 2-0 though. Second match, like 4-2 or 4-3, something like that. Late step out, trying to get a takedown, something close in that second match. Robbie, your thoughts here at 70?
I think pretty similar. I like Yanni at a bigger weight class, actually getting to see him put a little size on. And he's just such a smart wrestler too. I mean, something to be said about a Cornell degree, but he's so fun to watch too. And I mean, I think this has the makings of a long-term rivalry with the New York guys, with the youth of PJ and what we've already seen from him so far. But I think Yanni is just above that. And I think he gets it done. I think 2-0's right.
Austin?
Yeah, I concur. 2-0 for Yanni. I just think a little more savvy, a little more veteranness to him. And I think PJ Duke was kind of growing up watching Yanni and might be a little starstruck in this match, wrestling an idol guy that he's kind of watched growing up. So I like Yanni just based on experience and being up a weight class, looking comfortable, injury free, at least for now.
Kev?
The only, I mean, yeah, Yanni's 2-0. But the only thing I'm going to say is, like, I feel like PJ Duke, I keep picking against him. And so I'm due to be right at some point, right? So I've got to keep riding this. But B, like, he appears to be, like, real close friends with Kyle Dake. And I think he wears, like, that Kyle Dake singlet all the time and stuff. So I'm like, I don't know how starstruck he's going to be necessarily by, like, the dude who is after Kyle Dake at Cornell being, you know, the guy he's wrestling against. Like, I mean, you don't get here as a, you know, incoming freshman into college by being starstruck,
Respectful.
you know? Right.
Yeah.
So he's going to go in there ready to go, but Yanni's good. Yanni took second in the world, what, like 2-3 years ago?
Yeah. It's been a little bit, but yeah.
He's good.
57, Spencer Lee, Luke Lillidahl. They've wrestled before, right? I don't remember what the score was. I think it was a lot to a little, as most of Spencer's matches are. I think Lillidahl is, I won't say up for the task, but I think it's going to be a good match. I think, you know, Spencer went back and watched that all-star match that he had against Ono, and saw how he wasn't able to get to his ties, wasn't able to get to his attacks, how, you know, Ono just kind of kept him away. And not to say that Lillidahl is Ono, even though I'm pretty sure that they trained together in the room to steal a line from Kevin, but I think that it's not just a wipe the mat with Luke Lillidahl and go home. However, we know how devastating Spencer Lee is on top, and that is always a game changer every single match. So give me Spencer Lee, but not in a total landslide. I think Lillidahl makes it a match. I think it makes it fun. Kevin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going Spencer Lee. With the exception of the finals match, didn't he, am I misremembering, didn't he like walk through the Olympics too? Wasn't he just killing dudes?
I wouldn't say walk through, but
He had one close match before
yeah, he
that.
had some. It
Did he?
was, yeah.
Maybe I'm just
against the best guys in the world. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
yeah, and
Oh, he
you know,
sucks. Yeah.
Luke Lillidahl's fantastic, but I think that Spencer Lee is on a mission. I think he's probably pretty self-aware about, like, realistically, health-wise, probably has this last cycle and wants to kind of run through it, you know, and get as much as he can out of it. And there's not really opportunities to mess this up. So I think he's going to go out there with a game plan, prepare it, execute it, and get out of there.
Yeah.
2-0.
Robbie?
Yeah, kind of same. I mean, I think Lillidahl can kind of close the gap a little bit. Year in a college room, learn how to hand fight and control the mat a little better. I think will make a little difference. But Spencer Lee, kind of like we talked about with Messenbrink, does not seem enjoyable to wrestle. 125 pounds, and his hands probably feel like they weigh that each.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I got Spencer. I got him 2-0.
Austin?
Yeah, I'm taking Spencer 2-0. Just seems like he's too strong and too good on top for Lillidahl. I wouldn't be surprised to see Lillidahl sneak a takedown somewhere, you know, whether it's a counter attack or just a quick ankle pick, something like that, using his length. But I think Spencer Lee is going to get to work, and I think he wins by tech at least one match.
Yeah, agree. I think first match it's very wide margin. Second match it kind of closes the gap.
Yeah.
Main event, gentlemen, and I think we already know where Kevin stands on this. He said a couple weeks ago. Yeah. He said Kevin said a couple weeks ago that it didn't matter who won, Dake versus Tarachi. He thought that no matter what, they would lose to Zahid. So I'm gonna go to you, Kevin, before I even make a pick. Do you still stand by that?
I do stand by that. I think Zahid Valencia, I mean, we talked about, you know, Hidley, and it's his time. I think that this is Valencia's time. I know he's already been on world teams and is a world medalist, but I think that he's at the proper weight for him. I think that his size is, and I know Dake's going up and technically like weighs close enough to that, right? So like that doesn't escape me, but I just think that this is a better wrestling weight for Zahid Valencia. I think he's very, very dynamic. He's very aware of what Kyle Dake is going to try to do, and he knows he's got a bevy of attacks that aren't going to get him caught in that head pinch, you know.
Bevy.
Thank you. Yes.
Good
Pulled
word.
that one out.
One of them SAT words.
Mm-hmm. So no, I think he's going to get it done. I mean, you know, I'll say 2-1, and I'm saying 2-1 because I would like to see 3 matches, and I think Zahid wants an extra match too, just as a workout. He might lose one on purpose.
I tell you what, and I'm gonna kind of push back a little bit. I think I am taking Zahid, but I'm taking him 2 matches to 1. Again, I'm gonna go back to things that Jordan Burroughs said because he's the GOAT for a reason. He talked about Zahid's gas tank and how that's a factor, and how most people think that, you know, that his gas tank is his weakness, and we've seen it on display before.
Against Burroughs too, right? In
Against
their
Burroughs,
exhibition.
yeah. In their exhibition, Burroughs was down 4-0 and then came back to win because he just didn't have. I mean, it was an all-star match, right? But even still, like we've seen it in other freestyle matches. So I think that's something to be aware of. And then the other thing is Zahid is training with Kyle Dake's best friend. His best friend is his coach, right? So like that's a factor in and of itself because of all the time that David Taylor and Kyle Dake have put in. All that time that they have put in, I'm sure that there's probably nobody in any corner or any wrestling mat around that knows Kyle Dake better than David Taylor outside of Kyle Dake himself. So I think they will be ultra prepared for how Dake will wrestle the match and how he will revert to his head pinch and his chest wrap and everything else. Right. So I am taking Zahid because Zahid looked amazing in that first match. But man, this is going to be tight. It's going to be close. There's going to be at least 2 challenges in this series as well. We're going to have to sit and wait for a good bit. Austin, your pick?
Yeah, I do like Zahid. 3 matches total. I think he's gonna win 2-1. And we've mentioned his gas tank issues in the past, but you know, training with David Taylor in Oklahoma State, change of scenery, I'm sure that's been at least somewhat fixed, right? I mean, maybe it showed up a little bit at the open, but I think that's something that they're going to keep working on and keep improving. And like you said, familiarity with Dake it's there with Taylor. So I like Valencia, and we forget he was a single pull away from being our rep, potentially a rep, you know, at last Olympic cycle. So he's been there. He's been so close. I think it's his time this time.
Robbie, on a word.
I'm going to go the other way. I think this definitely goes 3 matches, but I think the experience of Kyle Dake and just his consistent awareness of every position he's in, I think that makes the difference.
He's such a gamer, man. It's tough.
Yeah,
Such a
it's hard to. I mean, we've seen what he's done in his college career, in his freestyle career, and he just gets it done. And I think it's hard for me to pick against him, because I think he could. I think he just is separated himself enough to, you know, have the faith in him that he's going to get it done when he needs to get it done.
This is real like Cobra Kai season 1 vibes. Or like Johnny Lawrence's kid was being trained by Daniel LaRusso, and it was like, oh no, this is crazy. Yeah, that's what I get with David Taylor training Zahid.
I mean, if Zahid busts out the wax on, wax off, Dake's in trouble. That's how I see it too. Gentlemen, that has been the Final X, the men's freestyle side. As I said, we'll make our picks. We'll put out some graphics and stuff like that. So all those things will come out We've just been talking for a very long time. So instead of doing a 3-hour show, we're going to cut it here. But before we go, we are going to kind of address Ben Askren. He is not in good shape from, what I'm being told. It's not, his wife put out a post, I believe, on Facebook saying he's not responsive right now. And, he just been in the hospital. So obviously we're sending prayers and all types of good vibes to Ben Askren and his family and everything else. Not something that needs some sort of a think piece. Honestly, Ben has been an ambassador for the sport. He's been a great person for the sport and has always promoted the sport, no matter if he was in the Bellator cage or the UFC cage, a ring against Jake Paul, no matter what it is, he's been, part of the sport for a very long time and, brought a lot into the sport, including some of the champions that we now have in this current day and age. So hopefully he pulls through it, and we're definitely sending some good vibes and prayers to Ben Askren and his family. Gentlemen, any other thoughts? Any other things you want to mention before we call it another episode?
Sean Spital to Northwestern. That happened from Central Michigan. Yeah. Not often you go from Central Michigan to Northwestern, but in this case.
Usually it's the other way around, isn't it?
He probably knows what bevy means then.
He probably does, yeah.
On another episode, we'll dig into like the transfers and the guys that, the transfer portal and the kind of how guys fit into their new lineups and stuff like that. We'll get into that. But no, another great conversation, a lot of fun with you gentlemen. Always appreciate you. Always appreciate our sponsors, Poseidon Strength. Quad Pod is the discount code there, as well as Adidas. QP25 is the discount code there. So make sure you guys are going and using that on select items. There may be some exclusions, but as I said, we appreciate them. We appreciate the likes, the comments. Make sure that if you are watching this, that you are subscribing to this so that you can get more of this content. As the season comes around, we're going to have a hell of a lot more content. Little teaser, I'm not putting the name out there, but I am doing an interview with somebody that we haven't heard from in quite a bit. That will be out. You're watching this potentially on Tuesday. So that'll be out on Wednesday. The interview is happening on Wednesday.
Dan Gable.
It will come out on Wednesday. Yes, he's sending us a year's supply of Dan Gable beer.
That's actually really good. Jason Bryan sent me some.
Yeah, it is.
Good stuff.
I've had some before. But no, like I said, gentlemen, always wonderful to be sitting here with you, talking some wrestling and dropping some movie quotes and being the assholes that we are and having some fun. But again, appreciate our sponsors. Appreciate you guys for listening and watching. Make sure you subscribe, leave some comments, whether you like what we said, think what we said is stupid, whatever else. All of our socials, email, everything is down below in the content section, or at least the comment section, as well as the timestamps. Did have somebody in the comments say that the show starts at this checkpoint last week. Thanks for the redundancy, but I put the timestamps in there so that everybody can jump to whatever the hell you want and skip the things that we say, so you don't hear all of this.
Yeah, just skip Kevin talking.
You can skip Kevin talking whenever I throw it over to Kevin. You can skip that if you really want to.
How are you going to increase your vocabulary?
Exactly, but you won't hear words like bevy and how much he loves Sergio Lemley. So you won't miss out on those things. But again, appreciate you guys. We'll see you again next time. Peace.